All right. I will call this November 8th Town Council meeting to order. Welcome everyone in attendance. Welcome to Professor Hodges' class. I see many of y'all out there. Welcome to local government. We appreciate you being here. I'm going to start off with a moment of silence and recognition of the passing of the matriarch of the Parrott family. One, having given birth to this gentleman to my left is astounding enough, but two, as an educational icon and coach who affected many people's lives, including my wife, I'd like to just have a moment of silence in honor of her passing. Thank you. We will start with the roll call, please, Ms. McKay.
Mrs. Amos?
Here.
Mr. Reed?
Here.
Mr. Dwyer?
Here.
Mr. Parrott?
Here.
Mr. Yolen?
Here.
Mr. Hunter?
Here.
Mr. Hardy?
Here.
Thank you. Next in the agenda, we roll into the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Both of these are procedural, ceremonial. You're welcome to join if so inclined, or you're welcome to not as well. You can also leave, come back, what have you. But I will lead in the invocation to start, and then Vice Mayor Reed will lead in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. All right, thank you. Next up is adoption of the agenda. Do we have anyone who wishes to make any changes to the agenda? And if not, do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
I make a motion we adopt the agenda as presented.
Second. Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next up is declaration of personal interest. Do we have anyone at this time who wishes to make a declaration of personal interest concerning items on the agenda? Not hearing so, we'll close that. And we'll roll right into the meat of presentations with the town's FY 2022-2023 audit by Brown Edwards and Company. I believe Mr. Chris Murray is here. Oh, well, I see Miss Julie Moore first. I have to say that many people commented on the weight and thickness of my council packet this week, and it's often the culmination of, like, you know, you got the budget at the beginning, and then at the end you got the report that says, hey, how well did you do? And it seems like things went pretty well, but I'll leave that to you.
I just wanted to introduce Chris Murray. He's been with Brown Edwards for like 15 years, and he's a director there. And he oversaw the town of Farmville's job. He didn't do the grunt work, but he reviewed everything. And he's like my go-to when I have a question that I'm unsure about. So I hope you guys studied all that material so you have some really good questions to ask him once he finishes presenting.
Welcome.
That's right. Is this good enough? Oh boy. Can you hear me good enough? All right. All right. Well, good evening. I appreciate council having us and giving us the opportunity to continue to work with the town. I want to thank Julie and her team for their hard work throughout the audit processes. Begins all the way back in May and then culminates with the presentation here tonight. So. we'll go through a brief overview of the documents you have in front of you. So, you know, there's a lot of documents there, as you said, a lot of information. The annual comprehensive financial report, we call it the ACFR, is over 100 pages. But we issued an unmodified opinion again this year, which is the highest opinion you can receive. Another big achievement is the GFOA Certificate of Excellence of Financial Reporting. So that's new this year. The Government Financial Officers Association gives you this checklist that you need to go by for further requirements outside just meeting accounting standards. So it gives you more information you have to be there, which makes it a lot thicker than you're used to. So you got the management discussion and analysis, a lot of statistical tables and whatnot. So you go through that process, you complete it. So it starts with last year's, you submit your ACFR to them. They go against the checklist, whether you meet the requirements and whatnot, and they award you that certificate that you put in your report the next year, and then you go through that same process every year. So it's not guaranteed for, you know, eternity. So you have to go through that process over and over. So a big achievement there, getting that certificate for excellent reporting. Looking at your ACFR, it's kind of, like I said, hard to focus when it's over 100 pages. So I would kind of focus on that management discussion and analysis. That's written by management, kind of condenses things, highlights big points of what happened, as written kind of in plain English instead of all accounting terms. Another item to highlight is the VRS. Town entered the VRS in September of 21. So the VRS hires actuaries that come up with all the different analytics with interest rates and, you know, demographics, mortality, all that stuff, and comes up with a liability that for each locality was reported in a one-year lag. So what's seen in your 2023 audit is the 2022 numbers. So that'll be the first time you see a net pension liability in there. It's $646,000, but it's not an immediate liability. It's something that's going to move every year based on interest rates and different demographics. Another unique item is the long-term deposit, $937,000. That was the deposit that was made on the fire truck that you're not going to receive for several years. It'll sit there until the asset comes in, move over to your capital asset. Another area people like to hear about is cash position. So governmental activities, business type activities, cash and investments increased from the prior year. If you're looking at your cash operations for your business type funds, so your airport and your transportation did have decreases. This is from your operations. So it's not out of the ordinary for have decreases there because those are a lot of funding from grants and whatnot. So if you're just looking at operations, your water and sewer, though, had positive cash from operations. So this is taking your cash coming in from your customers, paying out suppliers, vendors, employees. To put those numbers in perspective, FY22 for water, so $621,000 positive from cash operations. FY23 was $894,000. That was water. Sewer was about $1 million in 22, $1.1 million in 23. And one last thing to highlight on the financials, I guess, before we start looking at different graphs, is that you also had a single audit. So that's an additional piece to your audit. If you spend over $750,000 in federal money, you have to have a single audit. So there's a 2,000-page compliance supplement issued by the federal government that says these are all the rules you got to follow for all these different grants, different rules, different. Looking at payroll, purchasing, procurement, reporting, all that good stuff, different rules, different programs. So we come in, we look at those different things. We look at your compliance with the requirements, but also your internal controls around that compliance. So you spend about $3.5 million in federal expenditures. We tested the airport improvement grant and your coronavirus fiscal recovery funds, which was actually about 3.4 of that 3.5 was subject to our sampling and testing. There was no findings, no non-compliance there, no control issues. We're also required to look at state compliance. All our public accounts tell us different state requirements we have to look at. There's no findings, no issues there either. So another item to look at is the schedule of findings and question costs is in the back of your ACFR. So some people kind of look at that as like a one-page snapshot of your report card. So you'll see on that screen there was no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies related to your financial statements. The same thing for your financial reporting. There was no findings or non-compliance for federal programs, your financial statements, or your state. So that's a one-page snapshot of re-emphasizing the strong audit. That's a nice little summary report card there. So looking at a few of the graphs, the data, it's a little bit easier looking graph format. So this is 5 years of net position for your governmental activities, your business type activities. So this is your statements on the full accrual basis. So it's going to have all your assets, all your liabilities, your capital assets, your debts, your pension, all that good stuff. So the town ended the year with $21 million in governmental activities net position, which was a $2 million increase from last year. So your business type activities, your water, sewer, airport, transportation was about $19 million, which is a $2.7 million increase from last year. So looking at the 5-year change, combining those governmental activities and your business type activities. So in business terms, or I guess you would call this your net income for the town. So at FY21, that was $4.2 million. It's 3.1 in FY22, and then it was 4.7 million in FY23. Some significant changes there, factors, meals tax, lodging tax, sales tax, and recognizing a lot of grants that were received for that airport renovations and construction there for your business type activities. Here's a look at your unassigned fund balance, your months in general fund. So it's a simple calculation if you take your monthly expenditures in the general fund and compares it to your unassigned fund balance. So the GFOA says try to have at least 2 months of expenditures in your unassigned fund balance. 2019, 2020, there was some, I think, audit adjustments or changing the restricted, so that looking at those 2 years, a steady increase in those the months there. So now I think it's 3.36, or so 3 months in unassigned fund balance. Once again, meals tax, lodging tax, sales tax drives up the revenues, and you have more in unassigned fund balance. Last ratio I think we have is the quick ratio. So this demonstrates your ability to pay your short-term obligations. So this considers your operating cash and investments and your AR and compares it to your current liabilities. So your accounts payable, your accrued payroll, your current debt payments, stuff like that. It excludes things like inventory, restricted cash, because you can't quickly liquidate that and pay your short-term obligations. So it's your ability to pay your bills. Governmental activities, you stay around that 1-to-1 benchmark that most would want to have. Your business type activities, very strong ratios, over 7-to-1 at this point. Now this ratio can fluctuate, just depend on when you take the snapshot, but it's not going to drastically change because your accounts payable going up and down can, whatever timing, can skew that ratio or change that ratio. So I think there was a lot of invoices at year end around construction and spending the ARPA funds. So that kind of pushed up your accounts payable and pulled the ratio down, but still overall 7-to-1, very solid numbers there. Switching gears, we issued 2 letters. First is the required communication with those charged with governance, what we have to issue to you all. It lets you know what our responsibilities are, what the town's responsibilities are. Lets you know we didn't have any disagreements with management. Lets you know we had no audit adjustments. That's, if we had them, that's where it would be. There's one past audit adjustment that we worked with Julie on and determined it's insignificant to the financial statements. There was a new accounting standard last year on leases. So in a nutshell, they wanted to take all your leases over a year long, present value them, and record asset and liability for them. It was insignificant to the financial statements, so we elected to continue to treat it before the accounting standard. So we're required to put that in the letter. So if you see that, that's what that relates to. Finally, we got our comments on internal controls and suggestions. So that's really our value-added tool of trying to make recommendations. So if you remember last year's letter, there was a material weakness related to information technology. So this year, improvements have been made and continue to be made in that area to address those concerns in the past. So that material weakness has been removed, so it's no longer a material weakness. Last year, the segregation of duties with the functions within finance, we reduced that significant efficiency last year. There was more competency controls added this year. So that comment will eventually just completely go away, but we give a current year update in the current year letter. I think the last comment was about accounting manuals or something like that from the past. Those have been implemented, so that comment goes away. So overall, there's no material weaknesses, no new comments, and basically everything's been addressed for the most part. Now, nothing's perfect forever, and things can change. So the world we were living in with cyber security and cyber crimes just hitting closer to home, would just continue to keep that on your radar, monitoring, and just because the material weakness has been removed doesn't mean, things can't happen, so continue to keep that at the forefront. Same thing with segregation of duties. Roles and responsibilities can change. If somebody leaves or roles change and whatnot, segregation duties can be altered at that point. But overall, a very, very strong audit with no findings and very improved management letter. So, but that, I'll take any questions you might have.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Murray at this time? Yes, Mr. Davis.
If there's no questions, I'd like to make a comment, but I don't want to stop council members from questions.
I think it was another strong audit. Like you said, material weaknesses being addressed. And yeah, it seems like we're continuing to roll in the right direction and perform well. So that's pretty good. So yeah, what you got, Mr. Davis?
I just wanted to point out that in layman's terms, maybe, Chris, is that this is probably, well, not probably, this is the best audit that the town's had in my tenure here in the last 6 years. We're in the best financial position that we've been in since that time. And I want to give a lot of kudos to Julie and her staff for that, and continuing to keep us in the right direction and moving it forward. So, I know Chris says, the goal was 2 months and we're at 3. I like to be a little bit higher than that in case something really happens. So we're gonna push for more, but we'll see how that goes. Thank you.
The GFOA award certificate, I was glad you mentioned, and I know that the idea is to continue to roll that train, and I heard that it's easier once you get the first one under your belt. Well, we'll certainly hope so.
Each year is usually something they pick on, and then we get the comments, and it's across the board, and we have to address it. It's just something they pick on each year, but usually they give you time to address it. So.
For those in attendance, the finance department and Mr. Davis were recognized for their excellence in reporting financially this past year, and it was a big achievement. It was one they set out, a goal they set out for themselves, and they accomplished it readily. And so thank you for the continued efforts. And I'm not hearing any questions for Mr. Murray. I think we're good. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right, next item on the agenda is the High Bridge Trail update with Park Manager Daniel Jordan. And he's got props.
Well, good evening, Mayor, Town Council, members of the town, and the community. I'm Daniel Jordan. I'm Park Manager, High Bridge Trail State Park, and I'm here to talk to you about your park, High Bridge Trail. So a couple things. I'd like to start with just some numbers and economy. So Dr. Vince McNeely does the economics at Longwood, and he actually handles all of our data for economic development and impact for state parks. He did it at Virginia Tech, and he continues at Longwood. And so these numbers I have a little bit of age on them because we're getting ready to release the new ones for fiscal year 23. But in fiscal year 22, so we had 41 state parks, 3 land bank parks that are they're purchased, but they're not ready to go, and 2 in process of becoming parks. And so that's a total of just shy of 77,000 acres. But this also, we recently were given a donation of Falkland Farms down in Halifax County, and that is 7,200 acres. And so they're trying to figure out what is going to be state park and what's going to be nature preserve down there. But with that, we're sitting at about $52 million in total state park budget, and 45% of that is general fund, 55% is revenue. And so when people come in and pay parking fees and camping, that really helps us run. And so with that, we actually are 0.06% of the state budget is what state parks accounts for. And it's $2.77 per person. So your tax money is just under 7 cents at High Bridge Trail. So we greatly appreciate it. We try to be a good value for the money. But with the economics, every dollar that's spent in the park creates $14.46 in the community. And so it's a pretty good value. And so, so what does that mean for here? Well, for High Bridge Trail, we look at, we have a job impact of 78.6% jobs, 78 jobs to the community that wouldn't have been here without the park. And that's a $4.5 million value added. And then with that, our economic impact to the area, and Farmville is a big recipient of that. And I always say that the park is good for the community and the community is good for the park, that we benefit mutually from it. But it's a $6.8 million economic impact is the average with the adjustments in it. And so, so hopefully we'll continue to grow. And then with that, this year we're sitting at $2.5 million in capital improvements at High Bridge. So we're building the visitor center at Camp Paradise. And I'll talk about that in just a second, but that is a $2.1 million project. And then we're also getting ready to build a mile of trail, which is a $400,000 project. So with that, first off, the visitor center, and some of you already know this, so we cut the ribbon a year ago, and it's going to be done in June. Oh wait, it's November now. So we're a little behind with schedule, but we're looking at December 31st being substantial completion, punch out in January, occupancy sometime in January, early February, and then we will get the building, and then we can put furniture and exhibits and everything else in it. But I did bring my pictures of if you have not seen it, and I'll show you all too. So this is, so this is the visitor center, and my worry was it was going to look like a bus stop down there at Camp Paradise, and I gave them the 1914 Norfolk Western train station, and so I think it looks a little. So this building is 2,500 square feet. It'll move our administrative offices to Camp Paradise from Green Bay Road. We'll keep the Green Bay address for maintenance, and then we'll have exhibits and flush toilets. So we are coming up in the world. So, but I'm going to set things right here if you all want to see them. So, but we're excited. We're excited to be getting to Camp Paradise, and this project does include Camp Paradise Road being paved. So that's 1.5 miles. If you all don't like dust, then find another road because we're going to be paved finally. So we know we're really looking forward to it. The other thing is Pamplin. So 2.5 years ago, we purchased Pamplin. It's 30 acres, a mile of trail, and it's finishing the western terminus of the trail. And so a couple things took place. First, we needed to get access to the new property, and there's town property between Pamplin Road and the park property. And so with that, I asked the town if they would be willing to donate a half acre to the park, and they said, yeah, we will. And then we ended up working with the town, Appomattox County, and Prince Edward, and they donated money to have that half acre actually turned into a parking lot. And so the parking lot's been donated to Highbridge Trail. We received it a month ago. And we also just sent out bids for the completion of the last mile. And so we're getting ready to award that $400,000 bid to get into Pamplin the last mile. And so a couple things, we will close Heights School Road parking lot and push all the traffic that's up there to Pamplin. But we're really excited about finishing this out. Once Pamplin is done and we close the crossing, because that's been the big issue up there, is there's a 60-mile-an-hour blind curve crossing, then we will move to Burkeville and work on that. So a lot of things going on this year, juggling a lot of balls. And then just a couple updates for y'all. As far as town goes, we're adding new park benches throughout town. So there'll be one at Main Street. We're going to put one just west of Buffalo Creek Bridge. Buffalo Creek Bridge, we've redone all the railings on it. They were rotting, so that's been completed. And also, you might have noticed we have new half-mile markers out there. So we had the Carsonite post, and mowers like to knock them down, and people would sometimes take them. And so we now have recycled plastic mile markers, and the Friends Group donated those, $20,000 project, but they look like the old concrete markers. So it's been a nice addition to the park. Other than that, the Friends of Highbridge has adopted Aspen Hill Road, and so they've been doing cleanups this year. They got their sign out a couple weeks ago, and so that's been a big push for just increasing our visitor services. And we look at when people come into Farmville or off the highway, that's where their visitor experience starts. And so we're looking forward to trying to keep the area clean. And then lastly, just a couple things coming up. So some of you already know there's this Veterans Day extravaganza at the brewery and the trail this weekend, so we're working with them in conjunction. We also, December 2nd, Brian, if you're feeling froggy, we have the 100K freight train. Yeah, so come on. So there's some days I don't even want to drive 100K, let alone run it. But we have close to 300 people signed up. And those are a lot of people coming from all over the U.S. and sometimes Canada. And so it's a great economic boost for the community. And so there's a little snapshot of what we have going on. I'll end with letting you know that last fiscal year that we run July 1st to June 30th, we had 221,000 visitors at Highbridge. And this year, we already are sitting at 133,000. So can I answer any questions for you?
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Jordan?
Thank you for coming, Daniel.
Hey, no problem.
Great information. The signage, the half mile markers and things like that. These new ones, these are concrete,
They're recycled plastic.
recycled plastic, but they bear a resemblance to the old.
Yeah, so they're 4x4 gray post, and so they have a feel for the old concrete markers.
Cool.
And they're routed out. So.
And curiosity, what's the number one event that you hold the Highbridge Park on an annual basis?
It's going to be the Firefly Festival.
It is the Firefly Festival.
So yeah, we see upwards of 1,500 people, and we do limit that. We're looking at upping it a little bit, but that's the biggest event by far. Yeah.
That's usually a 2-night event?
Yes, it's always Father's Day weekend, so Friday and Saturday before Father's Day.
Thank you very much.
Definitely.
You know, as somebody who runs ultras on the Highbridge Trail, I'm not sure how I feel about the half-mile marker reminder as I go, but I am excited. I am excited. The Highbridge Ultra in the past has had to skirt into town around Pamplin to get that last mile.
Yeah.
And so no longer will that be the case,
Yeah.
which would be nice.
So we'll have to adjust some things, but especially the Ultra in October.
Yeah.
They won't have to run down Pamplin Road.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for the update. We appreciate it, and it is such a gift to have the trail be a part of town.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Definitely. Thank you.
I will remind everybody, as I do traditionally when Park Manager Daniel Jordan is here, they have the little kiosk where you can pay for parking every time you roll in, but my wife annually gets me the state park parking pass. I think it's still $89. And it's a nice hang tag for your rear view mirror. It's got a nice little picture of a camping setup out there, but it's a good way to support the state park systems and also incentivizes you to visit them, so which is good. Next item on the agenda is the ABM presentation. Mr. Davis, are you leading us off here, or are we firing right into the crew?
Yeah, I'm welcoming back Whit and Chrissy from ABM from last week. I believe they're going to share with you. You had some ideas from last week's meeting, and then here to answer any questions or comments that you may have about the presentation. There's no real presentation this evening. It's more of making sure everybody's on the same page and how we move forward. I'll turn it over to them.
Welcome.
That's exactly right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of Town Council, and Dr. Davis. Dr. Davis is right. We are here to address some the topics left over from our work session presentation to you and ask and field any additional questions that you may have. We want to make sure that everybody's in agreement and comfortable with the project that we proposed. The first follow-up item that we wanted to bring to the council is EV charging solution. That question that came to us was, instead of having 2 locations where each location had 2 level 2 chargers, what if we were to do a combination with 1 level 2 and 1 a bit faster, what is called an L3 or a DC fast charge? What we have gone and done is revise the project and the contract so you have at each location, each site, a level 2 and a level 3. So you will have both at the farmers market as well as the plaza, that combination system. Every feedback that we've received says this is an extremely favorable combination. You'll be able to charge a premium for the faster charge, which is a full charge within 2 hours. Or somebody can take the lower rate and do a slower charge. Full charge is like 6 hours, so that's a stay and play. They have that option. What we do have within that package is also you'll be able to manage and monitor the usage, the activity, who's charging more on which stations, so that if we talked about further expansion of future EV charging stations in Farmville, you can use that as your tool to gauge what chargers and where, what's going to be your best ROI. An additional topic of follow-up was on the solar. I'm going to turn that over to Whit to answer.
Good evening again. Was there any questions on the EV component?
When you say two chargers, is that 4 spaces?
4 between the 2 locations. You have 4 chargers total for Town of Farmville. Yes.
Thank you.
So the other question that came up was when we talked about solar, was the space, the ground space that's available at the sports center. And we did look back into that. It's not a candidate for the solar power purchase agreement. And that's because of the consumption. It's a very low consuming building in terms of its electrical consumption. The solar option for that building would be where the town would have to own and maintain that, and it would be a small array that would just supply enough energy for that facility to be powered by the solar array. It really didn't lend itself to a large, economic benefit. That's why we didn't recommend it. There's some other buildings in town that do it, like we talked about. However, with the condition of some of the roofs, they weren't good candidates. So out of the solar power purchase options, again, that's the option where the town makes no initial investment. A financier comes in and builds the array, and the town gets the benefit of using the lower cost energy from that array. So I can get into a lot more detail if that satisfies the question, but that's the reason why that facility is not an ideal facility or economically viable facility for solar power purchase agreement.
I just had one quick, and it had to do with the roofs of the firehouse as we talked about, and was it the bus shop?
It was the ones that we they
No,
looked
we're
at
gonna-
for solar. It was the firehouse, the bus, and I can't remember the third one.
No, it might have been the sports arena, but
No.
for the firehouse and the bus shop, there is land beside. Is it a matter of the distance away from the building itself, or is that a viable option? Even for the near future, we can look at that at another date, but I just was curious about those two locations and putting it on the ground.
We looked at all of those viabilities. The firehouse, again, that's one that has a low electrical demand. The reason that the wastewater and water treatment is they're really high energy users with the blowers that run 24/7, 365. So that's why those, and the pump stations that run, that's why those really are have the most economic benefit. The other sites could be solar candidates, but they would be for the owned option, where Farmville would make the investment to build the array and then own it, maintain it, and benefit from the solar produced.
And I'll just touch on that from last week. I'll remind everybody, the reason it was an option, one is those roofs are going to be in need of replacing before 20 years from now. And so we'd have to take them off, redo the roof, and put them back on. The other thing is we would have to maintain them. So we'd have to have somebody on staff that's going to clean them. If there's something that functionally that is wrong with them, that we are having to do that. And so that's the reason why we're only bringing to you the ones for the wastewater and the water plant.
Any additional questions on solar? Do we have any other updates at this time?
Any other questions relating to the project, the water meters, the AMI, parking, parking upgrades? Any questions that have surfaced, would be happy to speak to.
This is from start to finish, it's about a year to bring everything online, all right? And so we'll see your crews coming in from Richmond and other locations and everything. They'll be working with our Public Works Department and hand in hand doing installations. So there's sort of an educational aspect of this as well. So we can kind of stand on our own when I guess I'm worried about like your local office is in Richmond. And so if we have a problem, we want to be able to take care of it and not have to call you each time. So when you leave, we'll be able to manage and upkeep most of this.
That's right. And we do have a full year workmanship materials warranty on it. So, anything discovered during that first year, our team will take care of. But yes, like Rob and his team, they'll be trained on, obviously they know how to install a water meter. The additional component that we're adding to that is that cellular antenna component. So the connections, they'll have plenty of supplies and know how to make changes if a meter's not reading, how to diagnose it and so forth. So they'll have the tools to do that and the training to be able to do that as well as part of our, and spare parts, things that they'll have on site so they can get a customer back up and reading and not have to worry about trying to figure it out in the field. They can pop a new antenna in, bring it back to the shop. If it's a manufacturer's warranty, the equipment's warranted for a period of time as well.
I have a question. When it snows, deep snow, antenna service, does that affect like deep snow with the?
Snow does not. It would. I would have to say it would have to be really deep, but that has not been an issue. Even when meter boxes get flooded, which happens more often than snow, they're still able to communicate.
No communication errors with deep if we had 15 inches of snow with the communication?
Well, if there was,
yeah.
Once that snow melts, the reading the reading that takes place gives you the benefit of looking for those anomalies in real time. But within a month period, I would think the snow would melt enough. But I could really look into that, but I don't think 15.
I was just hit me. Just curious.
Yeah. I know there was a question brought up after the meeting in reference to what the police department's using in reference to safety sticks. Mm-hmm. Did you get any update on that?
On that technology?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that particular company we did reach out to. This is a little bit different technology because you already have an enforcement program in place. My understanding with the is it called Fire Stick? Is that what it's called?
Safety stick.
Safety stick, yeah. There's a component where somebody knows that they park in a spot that's a tow-away zone, so it's a nice way to give them that ticket. But the parking solution, it's really up to the town if they wanted to go that route, it's not part of the parking solution that we brought to the town to evaluate.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've talked to the chief about that. The purpose in the safety stick is that the people are parking in a predetermined legal space. So we don't mind, I shouldn't say it this way. I don't know how else to phrase it. We don't mind ticketing them within a minute of them being parked there, because you set the time, because they're not supposed to be parked there anyway. My understanding from talking to the police chief about this particular, the parking meter aspect, which is different than the safety stick, is that you would still have to set a time, but then you're going to, as soon as that time hits, it takes a picture, it's going to ticket the person. So I don't know that we want to, if somebody's paid for 2 hours and a minute after that 2 hours, they're going to automatically get a ticket downtown. I'm not sure that was our goal of doing that. And plus, that company gets a decent proportion of that summons or that ticket price. This is all to us. This doesn't go to another company as far as that. So
yeah, that's understandable. I was just seeing if it was compatible to the system in reference to what we may receive.
Oh no, they have their own. MPS has their own that's their system. It doesn't go with the company that's in this scenario. They don't have that option.
That said, the solution that we're providing to you is open platform, so it will open up and have connector pieces. There is potential that safety stick, and it's, if MPS becomes open and allows another manufacturer to leverage its capabilities, much like an Apple phone kind of thing, that door is potentially going to open in the next couple of years.
Thank you.
I have one question. I apologize, I wasn't here last week presentation. I'm just concerned about the employees. You say you're coming on with your staff for a year or for training, and I'm just concerned, what's the update with our staff? Are we going to lose anybody?
No, we won't lose anybody. We'll need them to fix the meters later on, and still they'll be able to do other jobs in town while they're doing that instead of putting in water meters. So they'll do this project in about 4 to 5 months, whereas it would take our crew to learn the process and not know the technology much longer than that. But no, the end of the day is we have updated meters that our staff gets trained on how to work on those meters. That's part of this package, is that they get the training so that when they're gone, after that year of service on their workmanship is over, our people can go in and do like they do now.
In a way, it's kind of like an improvement of your individual skills as an employee, because you're moving into new technologies that are used more widely in bigger areas. So I think it's a skill asset acquisition, really, for our employees to be schooled up on this sort of thing.
That's exactly right. We're here for the configuration, the installation, and the training to get everything up and running, and also to very much train everybody that you have at the town of Farmville and give them newer tools to just be more efficient and give you more accuracy, savings, and revenue enhancements as well.
Okay, I was just concerned. That's all.
I know that I had some confusion before a discussion this week about finances and how all that was working, because I'm so new to this. Scott, can you or Julie discuss that so that everybody really gets a better feel for where the money's coming from and where it's going, and at some point, not necessarily right this minute, but that, and that's I had another one, but it's gone at the moment. It'll come back.
So the total project now is because we changed the EV charging stations. Last week, you saw a figure of 4.8, it's 4.9 million. I'm rounding numbers. Of that 4.9, we're going to have to get a loan, right? So there's interest and principal on that. So you're looking at, do you have the exact figure? Well, we don't know for sure until we get the interest rate. But their number last week was 4.8. It showed all in based on what we would receive in revenue and that was when I wish I had this. And savings was 10 million. When you deduct what we're paying in interest in that, we would make a little over $2 million over 20 years. Does that help?
I think it was that, to be honest, sorry to be brutally honest with y'all, I thought that we were borrowing, y'all were doing all the work, and we were borrowing the money from y'all and paying y'all, and I was not a big fan of giving y'all all that money. But it's actually where the money is coming from was what I was alluding to, is where we're going to get it and where we have to pay it back to.
So we'll get a loan for or a lease for the total amount, the 4.9 and some change. And we are going to go through VML to see what, like we do for the police cars, we go to VML, they put it out to bid, they give us the best rates that they can find, and then we choose the best rate in terms. And then, so we will do that as long as this project tonight, if you want, after we're done answering questions, what Julie and I need to know is, are you satisfied and want to move forward with this project as is? Because if you are, then I need you to tell us that so that we can then move into going to VML, getting them to do the work of finding those numbers, and then coming back with a loan document and then the contract with ABM. So right now, ABM has 3 different companies that they work with. The lowest one that we saw was Capital One. It was 5.15 for 20 years. VML believes that they can get it at least that or less. So we're hoping that they come through for us like they have in the past, and we will be able to do that. Does that help? Is that what you were looking for, John?
Out of curiosity, as far as the shopping process, so to speak, how long does that typically take?
2 weeks.
And so, yeah, the idea being that we lock in rates and we lock in pricing on the project before the year end.
Correct. The prices for what they've presented us for that 4.9 leave us at the end of December. So my goal is to bring to you at work session and then to talk about again the contract, if you decide to move forward tonight, is the contract and the loan document that we've gotten, the best rate, and decide if you're moving forward fully at that point to commit and signing both, allowing me to sign both.
Right, so just a clarification, tonight will be an informal vote that we'll call just for him to continue to move forward, to seek the VML information loan shop and show that we are, or you, that council is in interest to continue that pursuit.
And the reason for that is, I mean, VML doesn't do that for free. So there's an origination fee for that they're not doing that work to do all this work and then we decide, So that's why I need to know if what is in this package is what we're gonna move forward with, depending on the finance. Because I don't wanna spend that money on looking for loans if this isn't the package you want.
When all is said and done and we do move forward, if we do, what's the time frame that we could get started after that?
Equipment ordered would take place in December. Some lead times vary depending on, which meters. But we're looking, it would be done in different phases. So equipment that we can get in, like lighting systems, things like that, we're going to get in first of the year, start knocking out a lot of the improvements in the buildings. Once we have all the meter inventory in, which will likely be March timeframe, is when that would start. And again, that schedule, we build that, make sure we're, the community is well informed and we're following the routes and doing the right things so that we're not missing any reading cycles. And then the meter part is scheduled for a 4 to 4 month, weather dependent, 4 to 5 month implementation process. The overall, with the building improvements, the parking is slated for a 12-month installation period.
You said the closest jurisdiction to us that have the meters, was it Emporia?
City of Emporia, their large meters are Badger meters, yeah.
Thank you.
But he also said, not through their company, but Chesterfield just did the exact same residential meters in Chesterfield.
That's exactly right.
I went back and looked and saw that Harrisburg had worked with ABM Building Solutions multiple times, 2014, 2018, and reported good results, obviously, because they signed back up twice. I can say, there's a little anecdote aside, my father-in-law, who I love dearly, is of a generation that is not very effusive with praise. And when I came in after the work session, last meeting, came back to the office the next day, he said, that was a really excellent presentation. So just as a kudos to y'all, from a man who does not often give praise, that willingly, he thought y'all did a good job. For the public who may be tuning in now for the first time to this issue, ABM Building Solutions submits proposals for localities to become more efficient in their energy savings in their buildings and their infrastructure. These are asset management agendas that we have sort of set in our retreat early on as a council and elected body. And so they've brought a proposal that the idea is it pays for itself in revenue generated, and as they spoke earlier, even has maybe a little bit of cheddar at the back end for us to recoup. Yes, yes, in 20 years, yes. Was there additional comment?
Fun note, we don't have any part of this, but we've also done the due diligence for you. When you go through the lighting upgrades, you will be getting a rebate from Dominion in the amount of $13,000 for doing that improvement. That's right. That's for you. Yep. We work with your utility companies, and whenever we're doing these conversions, they favor and they want you to be more energy efficient. So there are rebates in addition to grants that we're always looking for you with, and this is in particular one that we've been navigating for you. Now that we have the finalized scope, we're allowed to work with your utility provider and work on that rebate for you.
Do we have any additional questions for ABM at this time? Not hearing any, would you like me to call for an informal vote on just continuing to move forward and contacting VML regarding the financing shopping?
Yes, sir.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Moving forward. Thank you very much. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is a public hearing ordinance number 227 to amend Chapter 25, Taxation of the Farmville Town Code to add Article Oh, my Roman numerals that's 11. Yes, thank you. Authorizing revenue sharing for solar energy projects and energy storage systems. Do we have anyone signed up to speak regarding this, Ms. McKay?
No, sir.
Anyone in the chambers wish to speak on this item? Not hearing any, I will close that public hearing. Next item on the agenda is the public comment period. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment period tonight, Ms. McKay?
We have written comments by Marvin Rees Ventura.
Is Mr. Davis going to do the honors?
I do. I have an email from a Beatrice Flora Lopez Trejo. So I'll read that, and then I'll read Mr. Ventura's comments. Hello, my name is Beatrice. I'm here to urge you to move towards closing down Farmville and use this opportunity to share the firsthand experiences of Marvin Rees Ventura, who is unjustly and arbitrarily detained for over a month at Farmville. On September 22nd, Marvin went to our immigration office. ICE officers deceptively led him to believe they were going to remove his ankle monitor. However, when they did, immigration officers proceeded to arbitrarily detain him. Marvin had complied with all requirements of his parole. He had not come in contact with any law enforcement agency, had not been rearrested, and had maintained continuous employment. We believe this kind of behavior by ICE officers creates a culture of fear and intimidation. You can hear from Marvin himself about his arbitrary arrest, the deceptive behavior of ICE officers, the horror conditions inside Farmville, lack of privacy in bathroom stalls and showers, expired and substandard and highly processed food, as well as cramped conditions in their dorms. Marvin ends with warning to others. He tells others that he cannot trust ICE officers who act as they please, break their own protocols, and are never held accountable. I share with you the translated version in print. This is the translated version in print. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Marvin Rees Ventura. I want to share something with you, something that happened to me recently. On September 22nd, 2023, I went to the immigration office in Chantilly, Virginia to ask a question. When I arrived, I waited for about an hour before an officer called me into his room and then proceeded to detain me. I asked the officer why I was being detained. He didn't explain to me why I was being detained. He didn't tell me anything. He just told me to go in. A few hours later, they took me to a detention center about 3 hours away called Farmville. That's always here in Virginia, but close to the border with North Carolina. I want to talk about that detention center as well. Starting with the bathrooms, we don't have enough privacy. They are like an open field. The toilets, for example, they don't have doors. There's nothing. There is no privacy. Everyone sees when you're using the toilet. You don't have hand sanitizer by the sinks. They also don't provide us with soap. There is nothing. We have to resort to using our own shampoo or buy soap if we can. With respect to our food, there are many things that we noted. They kept providing expired milk. The chips were also expired, and the cheese was also expired. They gave us expired food for about a week and a half. Many people would discard their milk in all their meals because the food was substandard. The expiration dates had passed. They would also give us substandard, highly processed food. Sometimes I would skip my meals because it was horrible food. Also, I wanted to share about the conditions in our dorms. We sleep in bunk beds, 4 beds horizontally and 4 beds vertically. But the bottom 4 beds, those bottom 4 are stuck together. When we sleep, if we move to one side, we will bump into our neighbor and we will likely touch. There is no space, not 2 feet, not even a foot of distance between beds. No, they are stuck. We do not have space. Also, the air that comes out of the vent system also releases debris. It's like some kind of cotton substance. I don't know what that is, but it gets all over our beds and covers them with a layer of soot. The air is stuffy. That place is like a container. It looks like a warehouse truck. These are the conditions in which they keep people. Also, there are many insects. No, they are like strange little animals. No one knows what they are. Many say they are like little animals that sting. I don't know, but they are somewhat large insects. They look similar to bees, and some are also smaller. The detention center is in chaos. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Ms. McKay, do we have anyone else signed up for public comment period at this time?
Jen Cox.
This is Jen Cox. How are you doing?
Well, hi, good evening, everyone. I will make it quick because I know you've had a lot of presentations and posters, but you all have posters. As a reminder, this weekend is Longwood's Homecoming and Alumni Weekend. So currently close to 700 people are registered for our Alumni Weekend, alumni, their spouses, kids, etc. And then Saturday's opening basketball game in Joan Perry Brock Center, we're very close to selling out. And just a reminder, that's about 3,000 seats. So I put a link and I sent that to the clerk with the schedule for the Alumni and Homecoming Weekend if you have any questions. Some staff, myself included, specifically made calls and sent emails to a lot of the area restaurants just to make sure folks were aware, especially as some larger events occur, just that they're prepared for some crowds that probably after Saturday's basketball game will be hungry for dinner. Other piece I just wanted to share is next week we also anticipate a pretty good sized group of prospective students and families. It's our admissions open house weekend. We have 4 big ones a year. We'll have 2 more in the spring. And then just reflecting back at about a week and a half ago, the Joan Perry Brock Center hosted a successful and sold out concert featuring local talent Oliver Anthony. So our hope with that is that Joan Perry Brock Center gets on the radar of some of the regional music industry. And of course, as we continue to host events, more folks will know about us, and the opportunity is that we're going to have a variety of events in there that will appeal to a wide range of the community and beyond. So those are my only updates, and everyone has basketball posters. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for?
I'd just like to make a comment. We went to the concert. We saw lots and lots of people we knew. And I wanted to say thank you for not charging exorbitant amounts of money for concessions. The prices are way less than what I expected, and that's greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. I'll definitely pass that on. And if you hear anything from constituents, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to pass that along to our managers for JPB.
I will say I met with VP Justin Pope today and a reporter from Cardinal News who was doing, I think, a story on JPB's opening and the excitement around basketball. And the guys were down practicing at the moment, and just hearing the sneakers squeaking and the ball, I was like, oh, it's going to be a good weekend. So
It's going to be a good, busy, full weekend in Farmville.
That's right.
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else signed up to speak for public comment period?
No, sir.
Anyone in the chambers wish to speak for public comment period? Not seeing anyone. We're going to have an addition to the agenda here, an intro of a new employee. Mr. Davis, are you handling the duties?
I am going to turn that over to our interim director for community development, Ashley Austin Atkins, is going to introduce our new residential code official.
Thank you.
Good evening. I would like to introduce a new member to our community development team, Mr. John Ramsey, our residential code inspector. John first came to Farmville to attend Hampton-Sydney College, where he earned a degree in English. After a brief time away, he returned to the area as an employee of Hampton-Sydney College, where he remained until 2017. Since that time, he has worked in residential construction and residential construction management. John will be working on residential inspections and enforcing town code. He will also be attending DHCD training courses to earn his residential inspector certification and property inspector certification. We are excited to have John join our team and look forward to seeing him succeed in this position.
Welcome, Mr. Ramsey. You're a sharp-dressed man. We appreciate that. And I heard, yeah, John, just a full disclosure, John and I are friends, so I'm just giving him a little hard time. I heard your first day was the day the trash ordinance went into effect, and so you got a full intro to municipal government. It's immensely rewarding, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is the adoption of the consent agenda. Now we have the draft minutes of the October 11th council meeting in front of you. Does anyone have anything they wish to change? And if not, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Oh, yeah, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next up is the financial report. Ms. Julie Moore, you stepping back up to the microphone?
Yes, good evening again. You have the October finance report in front of you. For October, we earned a total of $15,753.55 at VIP. So that means we've earned a total of $110,793.92 since we've been invested at VIP. In the sweep accounts for October with Benchmark, we earned $17,474.03. So that means we've earned a total of $99,218.55 since we've started investing in the sweep accounts with Benchmark. For LGIP, remember in September I didn't have the data to provide to you, so I have that now. So in September we earned $34,559.30 in LGIP, and in October we earned $34,405.45. So that means we've earned a total of $493,062.80 since we've been invested at LGIP. So for October, we earned a total of interest of $67,633.03, and that excludes the LGIP interest for September that I read off earlier. Does anybody have any questions?
Do we have any questions for Ms. Moore? She continues to give us good news.
Yep.
Thank you. That's the finance report, October 2023. Do I hear a motion to accept the finance report as presented?
Make a motion that the finance report be approved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. All right, we'll roll into new business. I'm going to make a bit of an executive decision. I had a momentary freak out. I looked up at the clock and it said 9:05, and I was like, oh no. There's some kids in the chambers and they're here late. But it is 8:05, and so with that in mind, would Chief Clark mind if I moved him up to the front of new business? You all right with that? I see he has some folks in attendance, and you know, I don't want. That's tough to sit still that long. It's like being in church. So we're going to go and move item C up to the top, request adoption, resolution number 2023-1102, appointment of Daniel Clark as fire official for town of Farmville. Mr. Davis, do you have anything to say on this matter?
Yeah, I just, part of when Daniel came on board to be the fire chief, part of the change in that job description was to make the fire chief, since it was going to be a full-time position and not a volunteer any longer, the actual town fire official, and which enforces the statewide fire prevention code, does inspections for restaurants, businesses, childcare, daycare, all those types of things to make sure that life safety and fire are being taken care of in those places where the public has access. And previous to that, it was the building official. And so it just made sense as we were moving and progressing as we are in our community that having a full-time fire chief should also be the fire official. Daniel's been here over a year. There's certain courses that he had to take in order to receive that certification and test he had to take. And so at first, when he first got here, the distance was pretty far to travel to take these, where they have them periodically throughout the state. And so it wasn't until October of this year that it was close to home. It was in Richmond. And so he was able to complete that and has his certification, and now is certified through DHCD and fire programs as a fire official. Part of the state fire prevention code is that it has to be an appointment that doesn't expire, as we do for building official and some others. And so I ask you tonight to appoint Daniel Clark as not only our fire chief, which he already is, but also the town's fire official.
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 2023-11-02, appointment of Daniel Clark as our fire official for the town of Farmville.
Second.
Motion and second. Ms. McKay, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Yolen,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter,
Yes.
Mr. Hardy,
Yes.
Mrs. Amos,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer.
Yes.
On a unanimous vote, the motion is passed.
Well, congratulations, sir. Kids should be proud of your dad. He's a good man. He does a good job. We really appreciate having him here. Thank you. Anything else on that matter at this time, Mr. Davis?
No, I just want to thank him for he's been relying on the building official for things that have come up in this past year, and I think he would appreciate me doing this. Is the state fire marshal's office has been extremely helpful with us. Whenever we've had an event or we've had something, he's been able to call and they come and they've assisted, and he's been able to be pretty much on the job training with them before he ever had the courses, and so we're off to a great start.
Will he have to, can he do that now?
Yes.
He can do that. Very good, Daniel. He's such a great guy. He really is. I'm a huge fan of Daniel Clark.
You're getting all kinds of flowers back
I
there.
tell you, I'm a huge fan. We are very, it's a good thing that we have you. Very good.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, the next item of new business, we'll go back up to A. I apologize for the work of shifting those around digitally, but we'll move into A, which is request adoption of ordinance number 227 to amend Chapter 25 Taxation of Farmville Town Code to add Article 11 authorizing revenue sharing for social energy projects and energy storage systems. Do we have a motion on the floor?
I request we adopt ordinance number 227 to amend Chapter 25 Taxation of the Farmville Town Code to add Article 11 authorizing revenue sharing for solar energy projects and energy storage systems.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion at this time? Not hearing any. Can we have a roll call vote, please, Ms. McKay?
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Yolen,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter,
Yes.
Mr. Hardy,
Yes.
Mrs. Amos.
Yes.
On unanimous vote, the motion's passed.
All right, there you go. Well done, Mr. Elder. Our next item on the agenda is request adoption of resolution number 2023-1101, authorizing the finance director to transfer budgeted funds from FY 22-23 to FY 23-24 in the general fund and water fund. Do we want to speak on this at all, Mr. Davis?
I can let Julie speak to it if she wants to. I mean, but you have the
Keep calling her out tonight.
I mean, she's got to work for it. We have, I think you have in your packet the explanation of what this is about, the transfer funds from last year that are actually expended this year.
We have a motion on the floor to amend the transfer budget.
I move that we adopt resolution number 2023-11-01.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion at this time? Not hearing any. Ms. McKay, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Yolen,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter,
Yes.
Mr. Hardy,
Yes.
Mrs. Amos,
Yes.
Mr. Reed.
Yes.
On unanimous vote, the motion's passed.
Thank you. And last item on the new business is request acceptance of the audit for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023, which we just heard about this evening. Once again, another stellar job by our finance department and all that they do. And I don't know, it's really nice not to have to worry about that, and I appreciate y'all's efforts. Do we have a motion on the floor to request acceptance of that audit?
I make a motion, we accept the results of the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the audit for the fiscal year? Not hearing any. Ms. McKay, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Yolen,
Yes.
Mr. Hunter,
Yes.
Mr. Hardy,
Yes.
Mrs. Amos,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott.
Yes.
On unanimous vote, the motion's passed.
Thank you. All right, that concludes new business, which means we're down to the end here with the town manager's report. That clock's wrong. We need-
I got plenty of time. We'll get us to 10 o'clock. Yeah. By that clock. First, so a little update on the lights at North Street and West Third. Bill Caldwell and his staff have been working with Richard Whalen, I think it is the name of the company. And between the two of them, they've come up with the existing pole. And don't ask me how this works, but the goal is to actually turn the existing pole that's left, not the one that got damaged, around to where it will function and we won't have to find a new pole. So they're working that out now. So hopefully it'll be a faster process. Next item is the splash pad. I don't know if you've ridden by there, gone out there. It's closer to being complete. There's a ton of pipes underneath that thing. They've gotten that part done, and they're coming back next week. Mr. Atkins sent me the information to pour the concrete, and then after that, we'll be bringing in the electrical and the actual building, pouring the slab for the building, and constructing the building will be constructed around where the pumps will be inside. Robin and his guys have already done all of the water and sewer pipe for connection from the road to their piping that needed to be done. And so it's been a lot of coordinated efforts because these folks aren't from this area coming in and out. And so we're getting closer to that being done. Excuse me. As far as security cameras, Mr. Hunter, you brought that up. Bill's going to work with our IT vendors to build that into how we can station those on the building to put onto the pad, face the pad. The last meeting, there was a question about recycle bins. Really, there's maybe 4 options. So changes can be done. We could provide a can that would be one of 2 ways. We could provide a can to where people would still have to use the bags. So really, they're just going to put their bags in this can and then set the bags out by the road. And that would cost the town to buy additional cans for every homeowner to just put bags in and then put the bags by the road. We could buy cans that dump, like trash cans, but then we'd have to buy a truck that can dump the cans and dump the recyclable at Steps. Steps prefers that we keep the bag method, which is our current recycler, but they did share that they would take it any way that they would work it out if we did it the other way. And then another option is we continue doing it like we are, and people that want to put the bags in a can can go get a really cheap can at Walmart and put the bags themselves in the can and then take the bags out of the can and put it by the road instead of us providing the can, which is probably going to, a trash can cost $100. So they can go get a cheaper can, then we would end up having to raise their fee in order to cover an additional can that we're providing outside of trash can fees. So, but those are the options.
If I may, many moons ago, I think we offered trash bags. I don't know how many years it was ago, but I remember trash bags being offered for those that wanted to do the recycling.
They were blue.
blue recycle bin?
So there is a story behind that. It was before my time. People would come get the bags and put their trash in it instead of the recycling. So we were paying for bags to supply people to put their trash in instead of recycling at their house. So we did away with that.
I didn't say it was a good idea. I was just saying, it was just a reminder.
Yeah.
I will say I do personally have like a cheap can that I put my recycling in. It's a little small trash can that I put my recycling in, and then I walk it up to the street. The issue being, right, like people don't want to store the recycling in their house until I think my days are the first and third Thursday of every month. So the alternative is $100 per can for supplying it.
Yeah. And then the can we don't use the dumping mechanism.
Right.
It's pointless.
Because you're still using those flatbed dump trucks that we're using, right? Yeah.
We'll need a true recycling
True
truck.
recycling truck, right. And all this is because we have the partnership with Steps, which we like partnering with on the recycling venture.
But like I said, you could go an individual if they wanted to put their recycling in a bag, in a can, they could just go buy their own can cheaper and then still have to take the bags to the street.
How about if we offered a can to where you could take it anytime you wanted to drop it off yourself? I'm just throwing it out there.
But you would have to, each individual would then have to have a contract with Steps. We the town, have a contract with Steps.
No, I'm in a town receptacle that we could take the recycle to, a central location, so to speak, and I'm not even sure it's feasible, to where, instead of having to wait 2 weeks for the turn to pick up the recycle, you can take it yourself and alleviate that buildup if you're so inclined.
And do you mean like a dumpster type can, as opposed to a trash can, a bigger receptacle? That was my thought as well.
Just asking.
I mean, they would still have to bag it though. But it doesn't. The thing that I was.
What I'm trying to get around is not keeping it at the house for 2 weeks. I could take it, say, tomorrow and drop it off and not have to worry about it as far as bugs or stink or whatever the case may be, to where you did not have to store your recycle till we came and picked it up.
Yeah, I mean, then we would have to purchase a recycling bin. And I don't know how depending on the size of that and how it fills up, how are we going to dump that into a dump bed truck?
Well, alternatively, could we possibly just go out 2 steps and drop our recycling off?
That's what I'm saying. Then that would be we can ask that, but the contract's through the town collecting it and dumping it off.
I follow what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Y'all remember the dumpsters that they had over there at the old Walmart? How the trash that they got? They took them away.
Without a doubt, I just brought this up. I stirred the pot once again. In theory, it would be a wonderful thing if we had that truck, if we had those dumpsters. What it would do is, I'm not seeing it as feasible, but in theory, what that would do would really be a cleanup of what's on this curbside's pickup day. I mean, it can be.
I mean, we can build that into the capital plan in the future. We can have that conversation, but I mean, a truck is $500,000, and then we buy, because we can't use it for anything other than recyclables, because then you're not bagging it. You would have a bin, and you would just throw your stuff in the bin like you do anything.
Personally, I think it's a wonderful idea. Whether the finances work out, I mean, that's something I couldn't speak to tonight. What that would do, I think, would be making it easier for recycling. It would clean up the look and whatever, but again, feasibility.
How about this? We've had our retreat, and we're talking about doing it annually so that we can revisit items like this. How about can we put that on, like the sort of game plan for the annual retreat, probably in February again, and we can sort of game plan it out, game theory out what that looks like as a possibility.
Now, remember, I mean, our recycling center prefers the bag option because they don't always have employees that are readily there to split, to sort it. The places that have what I'm talking about, where they take it, my former locality had that. We had a thing with Tidewater Fibers, and they would come. You had the same size green trash cans we have now, the newer ones. We had green was recycling, blue or maroon were trash, and so you had certain day in your area that was for recycling. Big truck would come, dump it. But what they do is they take it back to a warehouse, dump it, and then there's people there in this huge area sorting all that and putting it in different places. Steps functions a little differently, and they don't have, that's the difference in a large recycling company. But Steps is giving jobs to people with certain disabilities and things that need employment. They'd work with us, they said, but they prefer the bags. I'm just making that known in the conversations at Robinson.
I think we're grateful for Steps. I think this is one of those ideas. In theory, it sounds great. In practicality, I'm not seeing it at the moment personally, but thank you. Thanks for looking into it.
Robin, when they got rid of Walmarts, where did Walmarts go to Steps?
All right, what you got next?
Edmonds and Griffin crosswalk. At this point in time, I don't see a need at this point for a crosswalk at that. I mean, Redford is less than 2 blocks, 2 streets down. You have one there, which is very high traffic. You have one up from that where all the parking lots are. You're gonna have onesie twosies from Irving. You're gonna have them from Edmonds. But they're not the same amount of traffic as the others.
Again, thanks for looking into that. Appreciate it.
As far as for, it's going to take us a little bit more time to look into, Mr. Yolen, the access for Crouch Stage. So I'll get back. That one's still on the radar, but I don't have anything for that one yet. Also, let you know, I'm working with a VCU student who's in the Masters of Urban Planning Studies. She's working on her capstone project here in Farmville. Capstone for that program is your end, almost like a thesis type deal, but it's a project. And she's focused on stormwater management and flood resilience, which is focusing on Grosses Creek and Buffalo Creek. So hopefully she might be able to design something that might help us reduce our flood impact of those 2 creeks in some way. So she actually was sent to us from Farmville Downtown Partnership because they were looking at one of the buildings that they're wanting to invest in had some issues with water, and that wasn't a big enough project for the student. So this is a big enough project. So that's how we were able to do that. So I thank them for sending her to us. The other is we're after the first of the year, please dust it all off, all those emails and everything I gave you about ordinances. We'll be bringing back a discussion about plan unit development ordinances after the first of the year so that we can start talking about that with you and the Planning Commission again. The annual tree lighting is Sunday, November the 19th at 5 p.m. at the Plaza. Yes, it's traditionally on a Thursday. But the mayor and vice mayor messed that up. They got to go to some conference or something, so they're not going to be back till Sunday. So anyway, we're doing the tree lighting on a Sunday evening this time, and I'll get you some more information. But our annual Christmas holiday luncheon for employees and staff is scheduled for Thursday, December the 14th at the Sports Arena. That's all I got.
I don't know if you had to really include all of that last part there, but I mean, I'll tell you, it is my fault. I remember sitting in a meeting. I was actually going to mention the Christmas tree lighting meeting, and realizing after we'd already met a couple times that I was not going to be here for the lighting, which my kids probably would have beaten me up about. I'm going to go around the table as we usually do for comments from council members. Ms. Amos, do you have anything at this time?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Reed?
No, I don't.
Mr. Dwyer?
Nothing.
Mr. Parrott?
I would like to possibly see about us discussing some of our current zoning ordinances, possibly reviewing them and seeing if we can possibly improve them over a period of time. I'm not asking for it to happen right away, but just to kind of put it on the table to review.
I just need to know which ones you want to review and take a look at. So whenever, just reach out and so that I can have that, or bring it up at the next work session so that we can have time to work on it.
Thanks.
Mr. Yolen?
Yep. Mr. Ramsey, welcome to the team. It's great to have you here. The students here, the Hodges class, is that correct? If you didn't have a chance to catch that, Daniel from the High Bridge Park, the Firefly Festival happening on Father's Day annually is spectacular. It's a wonderful experience. You're standing above the valley looking down at thousands of these things, and it's definitely worth seeing. So please consider making that a stop next year.
Mr. Hunter?
Just want to say congratulations to Daniel again, the fire chief. And another thing, we're doing another organization I'm involved with are doing free meals at the train station on the 17th from 11 to 1. So anybody that needs a meal or Thanksgiving dinner or anything, just come on out and we'll serve. We usually serve roughly 1,000 meals. So anybody's invited. That's next Friday. So anybody's welcome.
Mr. Hardy?
Yeah, as I'm sure everyone has, I've had a few calls on the trash situation. Could we, I don't mean for you to do it right now, but can we clarify in some kind of thing with the water bill what the change was? Because people aren't getting the fact that it's actually less, I don't know what word I want to use, less stringent or whatever. It used to be 5 feet back and now it's 0 feet back. So I don't think people got that.
I mean, I don't know how really to explain it other than the code didn't change, except you don't have to have it 5 feet behind the front plane of your house. You only have to have it behind the front plane of your house, or as it stated before, if you have an enclosure that's in front of your house and it covers the visibility of your trash can. The only thing we really added was an enforcement piece, which is teeth to those that decide not to take their trash cans to where they're supposed to be. And that's the only addition.
Yeah, so enforcement mechanism, I think one of the things that I've spoken with a lot of people about is the fact that, whether you're a longtime resident, homegrown resident, or somebody who's moved here, everybody comments on the cleanliness of Farmville, how clean it is. We are always sort of applauded for that and the work of Public Works and how well kept the town is. And so if we consider that one of our values, this kind of falls in line with that value, right? These things arise because constituent citizens complain and say people are leaving their can out on the sidewalk for like a week and it's overflowing with trash. So that's how these things come about. But yes, the ordinance itself, not much has changed outside of that 5 feet removal and then a little bit of teeth. I have gone by, I'll conclude with my report. I have gone by the splash pad. Very exciting. The gentlemen who were working on it were great. They actually took some pictures and sent them to me from on top of one of the bulldozers because I was so excited about seeing it. I was amused that we graded the land and then they just tore it all up to get started. Leaf pickup has begun. Robin crew out there getting up leaves, and we have posted that schedule up there. As far as my comings and goings, I attended the Virginia Children's Book Festival, which was in its 10th year this year at Longwood. A great event. I volunteered as an author escort and escorted an author around from originally from California, now in North Carolina, and she actually worked on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and some TV shows from my generation, so it was very cool. But VCBF celebrated its 10th year. Great organization fighting illiteracy and getting free books in the hands of kids, which is a very cool thing. Also attended the tip-off reception for men's basketball and the sort of NIL collective that's come up around that. As Miss Jen Cox stated, the homecoming game is this weekend for both men's and women, and that's an exciting time. Both teams have played an away game so far, and so I think the women have one more away game tomorrow, and then they're home Saturday and Sunday. So go check out the new Joan Perry Brock Center. It's pretty amazing. Also was on Call Flow, which I will be on again tomorrow, as I do traditionally, recap the meeting at Call Flow the Thursday after the meeting. Halloween Downtown was a great hit once again. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to all the partners in that endeavor, the Farmville Downtown Partnership folks and all of the downtown businesses that participate in that. It's such a magical moment to walk around and see all those kids walking around collecting candy, getting all psyched. And appreciate our police officers who keep everyone safe and moving traffic around and making sure everybody's safe out there. But it was a great event. And as Mr. Davis said, Christmas tree lighting on the Sunday, the 19th. One of my favorite events because the whole community comes together and just has this sort of innocent joy of Hallmark moment around a big giant tree. And this will be my first year getting to help flip the switch, so I'm very excited about that. Mr. Davis just has to make sure nothing goes awry. With that, concludes sort of my comings and goings. I will say we just had an election, and I know that I stayed up late watching the results last night just because I'm endlessly fascinated with elections. And I know, as I've spoken about it many times, in this day and age, it's easy to be cynical and it's easy to disparage and it's easy to sort of take shots. And as a public official, you know that's kind of part and parcel, part of the process. And I want to salute people who put their names in the arena because it's a huge thing to do, particularly in this time and age where we're incentivizing people to be outraged and to find lots of ways to take pot shots at folks and be kind of mean-spirited. And so I want to salute everybody who put their name into the arena, and I'd like to congratulate the winners. But a tip of the cap to our poll workers, to the folks who run our elections and do a great job and handle that process, particularly here in Prince Edward County. They did an amazing job again. And I would like to especially salute the poll worker who, when my wife walked into the polls and said her name, she's from here, grew up here, but when she said her name, the person said, "Oh, do you know the mayor?" She was like, "I grew up here." But anyway, thank you all. At this point, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion second. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.